Hey guys, how are you? Things are a little bit crazy here, but I'm finally here to present part 3 of the Fake Boyfriend series. If you're new here, please check out the first video on my page and hit like and subscribe. A comment would be much appreciated too. So with that, let's unwind, sit back, relax, and enjoy SakuAtsu. Days have passed since they met Sakusa's mother in the cafe, and Itsumo seemed to be always on the edge. It seemed like he's been avoiding Sakusa despite their previous agreement of him being the spiker's fake boyfriend. Sakusa didn't understand what was going on, and Itsumo, who was doing his best to avoid him, didn't help either. It pissed him off because he didn't want to be kept in the dark, but most of all, he was worried. Shoyo, have you seen Itsumo? Sumu-san, I think he went home early. Yeah, he did. He said he wasn't feeling too good. Oh, thanks, Sakusa said as his voice laced with disappointment that didn't go unnoticed by the team. They didn't want to pry, but they could sense the tension going on between the couple and the way Itsumo has been avoiding Sakusa. The spiker continued to pack his belongings and minded his own business, until, "Hey, so you wanna go to the store nearby? The one that makes a nigiri? Yeah, I heard Sum likes the food there. He said it was good." He clearly heard their conversation as if they were hinting at him about what Itsumo likes, and so Sakusa Kiyomi decided to listen more. Catching on, the rest of the team joined in the conversation while discreetly eyeing the spiker, who they hoped was listening. Yes, they didn't want to pry, but a little push was somewhat necessary. "Oh yeah, I remember him saying that his favorite was the fatty tuna. How about we go there? It's the one beside the convenience store anyway, and I have to get a few things." "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I bet Itsumo-san would have loved it. Too bad he's sick. Let's all go." "Oh wait, let's go tomorrow. It's almost their closing time anyway." "What time does it close again?" Around 6:30. Glancing over the clock, Sakusa hurriedly took his things and left the room without saying a word. It was already 6:25. He had exactly 5 minutes left before the closing time. Although he wouldn't normally rush to a store minutes before the closing time, he felt like he had to do something for Itsumo. He ran as fast as he could despite the sweat that dripped down his newly changed t-shirt. "I have to make it," he thought to himself. Meanwhile, in the locker room, "You think he got it?" "I think so. He wouldn't have rushed out if he didn't. I hope they make up already. They're so awkward around each other." Mayan, the captain of the team, sighed and rubbed his temple. "This is why I'm against dating teammates. But you still let them." Inunaki said in a sing-song tone, just to spite their captain, who just shrugged at his remark. "Well yeah, I mean, who doesn't like SakuAtsu?" 10 minutes later, Sakusa found himself at Itsumo's door with a bag filled with fatty tuna onigiri. He didn't know how he knew, but he just had a gut feeling that this was the place where the setter lived. It felt to him that he has been here before, but he couldn't remember much. Taking a deep breath, he clutched tighter onto the plastic and rang the doorbell. Just a few minutes later, the blonde came out with disheveled hair and tired eyes that widened as soon as he saw his visitor. "Omi-kun? Hey, what are you doing here?" What exactly was he doing? The spiker thought of an answer, but he himself didn't know what brought him at the blonde's apartment in the first place. Was he here because he was worried? Because he was pissed that Itsumo has been ignoring him? He didn't know. Instead, he showed him the plastic bag and awkwardly chuckled. "I got you food." Before Itsumo could ask questions, he quickly added, "May I come in?" Itsumo thought it was weird, but he let him in anyway. Yeah, sure." The spiker looked around and inspected the interior of the ever-so-familiar room that he was in. He swore he's been here before, but that wasn't why he was here, and so he let it slide. He placed the food on the counter and took the onigiri out. "They said you weren't feeling well, so I got you food. I heard you like tuna, so I got you a lot." He continued to ramble on and on as he searched for something in his bag, while the blonde only stared at him, silently anticipating his actions. "Also, I got you medicine. Wait, hold on, it's in here somewhere. I have it with me for emergencies, but you can use it. Here. How are you? They said you weren't feeling okay." "Omi. Oh wait. I got these in the convenience store. They said this is good for stomachache and..." "Omi," Itsumo said firmly. The taller male halted and stared at the blondie like a deer caught in headlights. "I'm just..." He sighed, shoulders slumping forward. He was hesitant to ask, probably because he was afraid of the answer. Gaining enough courage, with a wavering voice, he asked, "Are we okay?" "Yeah, why ask?" Although he was saying that they were, it was evident that they were not. from the way he desperately tried to avert from SakuAtsu's gaze. You've been avoiding me. We're okay. No, we're not. Ever since we met with my mom and Wakatoshi-kun, you've been acting weird. He flinched at the mention of Ushijima's name, but Itsumo held his composure. Just drop it. No, I want to talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. I'm worried about you, okay? Well, you have nothing to worry about. His voice started kind of sharp, his tone increasing gradually as they continued to bicker back and forth. SakuAtsu, on the other hand, felt more and more pissed. It seems like Itsumo was invalidating his feelings, as if him saying, "Don't worry," actually erases his worries. Who was this blondie kidding? You've been acting all weird. What's in it for you? You've been avoiding me. So what if I'm avoiding you? A dry chuckle left the corner of the spiker's mouth, enraged by the setter's ridiculous remark. He couldn't fathom why Itsumo was being difficult of all times. What do you mean? What if you're avoiding me? I have the right to know why. By this time, the Ravenette's frustration was seeping through his voice like a slow but gradual water filling an empty cup. On the other hand, the faux blonde felt exactly the same, but rather than a water filling a cup, his was like a shaken soda can. The more SakuAtsu pestered him, the more frustrated he became, and sooner, he knew that he would burst. Well, I have the right not to tell you? Why can't you just tell me? Because I don't want to. What's in it for you anyway? So what? What about the? Before he could even finish the sentence, Itsumo jumped into conclusion and slammed his hands down the table, finally exploding with all the pent-up frustrations he desperately tried to suppress. About our fake relationship? Is that it, huh? Is that why you're here? Why can't you just man up and actually tell your mother rather than getting me involved with your misfortune? Why can't you answer? Is it because I'm right? Silence instantly filled the room, and all SakuAtsu could do was stare at the enraged blonde with wide eyes. Anyone who didn't know Itsumo enough would think that he's just mad, but it didn't go unnoticed to the Ravenette. He saw how Itsumo bit down hard on his quivering lip as he tried his best to keep his tears at bay. It seemed like he was hoping they won't betray him. And so, as he was treading on thin ice, SakuAtsu spoke in a soft tone. Our plans. What about the plans we made for the vacation? Their plans? Why was he bringing their plans up now? What? Everything flipped upside down the moment he heard his fake lover speak. His tone was something Itsumo has never heard before. It was gentle and warm. No one has ever spoken to him the same way he did, and it melted the blonde's frustrations away that his knees buckled, making him lose his balance. Luckily, SakuAtsu was immediately by his side, holding on to him as they both sat on the floor. Oi, Itsumo, are you okay? The faux blonde couldn't bear the overwhelming sensation that he was feeling, and so he buried his face in his trembling hands and cried to his heart's content. He naturally didn't know what to do, but the well-known germaphobe, SakuAtsu Kiyomi, held his lover tightly in his arms, whispering sweet nothings in his ear, and patiently let Itsumo cry. It's okay, love, I'm here. After a few back rubs and forehead kisses, Itsumo calmed down with puffy red eyes and flushed cheeks. SakuAtsu tucked a strand behind his ear as he spoke in a whisper. Sumu, what's wrong? I'm sorry. Hey, you don't have to apologize. Would it be alright if you tell me what's wrong, please? SakuAtsu's features softened, sincerity and concern evident in his face. Itsumo became hesitant, but before he decided to tell him, he wanted to know something first. Why are you doing this? Aren't I your boyfriend? He was tired from crying, but he couldn't help but chuckle at his statement. A fake one, remember? Still a boyfriend, nonetheless. Now tell me what's wrong? You didn't answer my question. SakuAtsu sighed and decided to give him a serious answer. Well, I don't want to be your fake boyfriend anymore. Itsumo's breath hitched in his throat, his heart racing loudly in his chest. He didn't know why, but he was upset. Does this mean they're over? Look, I'm sorry I couldn't convince your mom, and now you'd be in an arranged marriage, and I. Noticing his expression, SakuAtsu chuckled and tapped the setter's nose. So can I be your real boyfriend this time? What? I think you heard me, Mia. The faux blonde was overjoyed. He couldn't believe what he just heard. His mood swings might be crazy, but now, he was filled with happiness until he realized something. What about Ushijima? What about him? Isn't your mom setting you up with him? Yeah, and? What do you mean and? He's not the one I like. There's nothing they can do about it. SakuAtsu caressed his tear-stained cheeks and planted a soft tender kiss on his forehead. I like you, Itsumo. Say it again. I like you. Not that, my name, say it again. He smiled and leaned his forehead against his and whispered tenderly, "Atsumu. God, you're such a crybaby." He joked as soon as he saw fresh tears fell at the corner of the blonde's eyes. He hated seeing Atsumu cry, but right now, he was crying and laughing and he looked beautiful. They sat there for a moment, feeling each other's warmth and listening to their hearts beating in sync before Atsumu took a sharp inhale. I met Ushijima back in junior high. His voice was audibly shaking and it concerned Sakusa so much, but he let him open and reminisce this memory, but this time, he wasn't alone. Sakusa was with him, holding him close, keeping him safe in his arms. I saw him play once and I thought that I wanted to set for him. So I went to this training camp where he was. Samu was with me, but he didn't want to join or whatsoever. He was just there to support me. We got there early, so I asked Samu to help me practice my sets. Atsumu chuckled bitterly. Then we tried out. Ashi was too good at it that they gave him the privilege to choose amongst those who tried out. He didn't choose me. He chose Samu instead. He said, I'll never be good enough. That's not true. I know, Omi-kun. I know that now. But I was naive back then. It wasn't his fault, but I resented my own brother. Although he didn't want to take the offer, our parents insisted that he did since it was a great opportunity. So we fought. All the time. It was my fault. I kept on taunting him, I kept starting fights with him. Until one day, he got in a terrible accident. He fractured his wrist. Sakusa expected for him to cry again, but this time he didn't. He thought it would be better to not see him cry, but he was wrong. Yes, tears weren't shed, but his eyes filled with so much regret that it broke Sakusa's heart. Atsumu stared at the wall across them with dead eyes, pained expression, and the ravenet wished he could take it all away. Ashi went to visit him at the hospital. And he didn't say anything to me. He didn't blame me. Nothing. But his eyes. The way he looked down on me. As if saying, I told you, you will never be enough. Stop trying so hard, and the worst, it's all your fault. The way he looked at me made me so insecure and guilty I had to stop playing. I wouldn't even dare touch a volleyball. But then one day, Samu came up to me. His wrist was in a cast and his other hand was holding a volleyball. He didn't blame me. He understood where I was coming from and he told me to play with him again after he's healed. I cried so hard. Osamu cried with me. He thought Atsumu would be the one crying, but then he felt a warm liquid down his cheeks, and for the first time in a long time, Sakusa cried. We made up and things went better until that day in the cafe. It felt like I was taken back to the hospital years ago. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. Don't hate Ushijima. He didn't do anything. It was all me and my insecurity. And Omi, why are you crying? No, don't mind me. Sakusa wiped his tears, but it wouldn't stop flowing. Fuck, what is this? Look who's the crybaby now. Atsumu smirked, faced him, and enveloped him in a tight hug while running his fingers through his hair. It's alright. Everything's alright now. I'm sorry. I didn't consider your feelings before dragging you into this mess. I should have told you about Ushijima and... Hey, it's alright. Atsumu cupped his cheeks and kissed his eyelids before leaning his forehead against his. I only agreed because I like you too, Omi-kun. And I think you're right. You should be my real boyfriend. This left Sakusa speechless. He was so stunned and he couldn't believe that the man he likes him back. He tried to open his mouth to say something, but he couldn't utter any, and so he pulled Atsumu and kissed him passionately instead. Atsumu kissed back until they were both breathless. He felt Sakusa's big warm hands roam all over his chiseled chest, pressing on every skin it touched. Atsumu, Sakusa moaned breathlessly. As soon as they pulled away, as if asking for permission. Atsumu on the other hand just nodded, unable to form coherent words. I need you to say it. I won't be able to stop midway. Do you want this? Atsumu stroked his cheeks, adoration evident in his eyes. He pulled him in for a quick gentle kiss and whispered, Yes, I want this. Without second thoughts, Sakusa lifted him up in his arms, earning him a yelp from the faux blonde, which was cut short as his lips collided with Atsuma's once again. They stumbled and carelessly bumped on walls, but they didn't care. They both wanted this. And so, the rest of the night was filled with them wrapped around each other's arms, sweaty bodies clashing, as their unspoken love for each other rang loudly over the room. So that was it. What do you guys think? Can you guess what will happen next? Comment, comment, comment. Also keep safe guys and see you on my next video. Love lots.